Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that. But don't fret, we've got you covered. This is CinemAddicts.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's a new week of CinemAddicts. This is CinemAddicts episode 306. We're covering movies that are coming out the week of Friday, August 8th. They include Birthright, Shaman, My Mother's Wedding, and Sudan Remember Us. So that is about 4 movies that are coming out this week. All that said, this might be one of those weeks where the more interesting movies, no disrespect to our features, might be the ones that we're covering outside of the purview of the featured movies, because Eric also has some mini reviews of Wolf Cop and Together. Bruce has the TV series from Apple TV Plus called Smoke, and he has another oldie, not an oldie but goodie, but a movie from the early 90s called Clear Cut starring Graham Greene. I have a mini review of this family film called Sketch, which, spoiler alert, is my top pick of the week. That is
sketchy.
Very sketchy. What wasn't sketchy, Eric, is you're just done with an interview. Who did you interview? And it was not a sketchy interview. It was a good interview. Tell our listeners what this is about.
I got to talk to Connor Paolo from Star People. Oh, my background. I forgot to change it. But
okay.
The other day I was supposed to do one with Kat Cunning, also from Star People. About a half hour before the interview, all the power to the house went out.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was like, oh, crap. So I had to take my phone, go to the McDonald's parking lot, hit Emma up, and she's going to try to do it on your phone and the thing. I'm like, I can try. And then I had to reset the phone, re-download Zoom, and it just wasn't working. So we had to cancel that. And I also had another one with Renee and Alicia Herbert for a movie coming out called Witchboard.
Okay.
And power didn't come on before that and had to cancel that one as well. And that one we had to reschedule because either Renee or Alicia got sick, so we had to reschedule. And then, the rescheduled interview comes up, the power goes out, and it's like, oh, geez, it's not a good day.
Oh, my goodness.
I got to do the interview with Connor Paolo, and that was a great interview. Loved talking with him, and loved the movie too. Yeah. And he's got one coming out. I'm real excited for The Demon Core. Well, fingers crossed, hoping that one's good. Definitely excited for it.
Yeah, and you asked him about the Demon Core, or is it Demon Core or the Demon Core? I don't know what the right title is. It's a short, or is it a film with him in it?
It's a film. It's basically Demon Core. You can look it up on YouTube, but basically it's a highly radioactive thing. And there was an accident that exposed it, and basically he put himself on this Demon Core, or used his body to block the radiation so the people around him could leave, and then they put it together, and I think he died a couple days afterwards, just from radiation poisoning. It's a really cool story, and I can't wait to see what they do with it.
Yeah, so this morning I interviewed To Kill a Wolf director and writer Kelsey Taylor, so that's pretty cool. And nice. Both you and I gave that movie 5 stars. To Kill a Wolf and actually, Eric, if you want, you can change your background from Star People. So is that too much of a? Are we recording right now? You want to keep it on? You want to keep it on for the movie?
We'll take it off. There we go.
All right. Yeah. So anyways, but To Kill a Wolf, Eric and I, on the last episode, we both gave it 5 stars. We both love the movie. I relayed that message to Kelsey Taylor. We have some spoiler stuff with Kelsey Taylor. I asked her about the ending. I asked her about the characterization of the woodsman because of something from his past. And she actually answers that, which is really good. Eric and I actually did a cool spoiler with To Kill a Wolf. We ran in circles for about 20 minutes trying to figure out the linear narrative behind this movie. Hopefully we figured it out, but our jumbled spoiler discussion of To Kill a Wolf will be up for our Patreon members, but the added bonus is, or maybe the front running thing of this whole spoiler stuff is, we got Kelsey Taylor to talk about the ending of To Kill a Wolf. So we got a couple of good questions.
Basically, she sets the record straight. And
and I apologize.
You guys both were way the hell off.
I refuse. I didn't throw any of us under the bus. So I just said, I forgot what I asked her, but I did not have her clear up any of the linear stuff, but I had her answer questions regarding the woodsman at the end, and also the actual final shot of To Kill a Wolf, which is really good. This is one of these hidden gems, which I'm really excited about, and I hope more of our cinematics community gets a chance to see To Kill a Wolf. What's interesting, go ahead.
Real quick, I got Go ahead and finish.
But are you
I got another thing before we get into the reviews.
Okay, okay. So you have one more thing, but so yeah, the spoiler stuff will be up for our Cinematics Patreon members this week. For this weekend, they can hopefully. To Kill a Wolf has a very interesting release schedule. I'll put the website where you guys can access it, tokillawolf.com, as far as maybe that the movies will be playing, and they actually have a partnership with Regal Movies, which is really good. And hopefully, To Kill a Wolf will be playing in your town in the coming weeks. Just check our link on our show notes for Cinematics. Also, Eric, a couple of good news for To Kill a Wolf, for me and you. We need to make more cheeseburger money on Cinematics, because once we do, you and I will have to pony up the money. The last time you and I ponied up, each of us, money to buy physical media was for a movie that you and I both were on the same wavelength and loved, aka also known as Hippo. We love that. I still haven't watched the physical media for Hippo.
I may have given Hippo to my nephews. What's this? Just watch it. Don't tell your mom.
Well, you still bought it. The bottom line is you paid good cheeseburger money to buy it. I paid for it as well. It's in the library in my late father's office. I need to see it. But both Eric and I, that's one of our, I think that was Eric's favorite movie from last year, and it's one of my favorites from last year as well. Huge preamble, okay, regarding Hippo, because it ties into To Kill a Wolf. They're going to possibly self-release physical media on Blu-ray, To Kill a Wolf on Blu-ray. And I think that's something that you and I will spend for physical media for To Kill a Wolf, because you know why? There's some extra, this is some spoiler stuff, which there's an alternate ending for To Kill a Wolf, which will be on the proposed Blu-ray, along with a couple of deleted scenes. But they're also making merch for To Kill a Wolf. And I definitely want a To Kill a Wolf shirt, whether it's in that really cool To Kill a Wolf lettering, or maybe shots of the Oregon woods. But then I said maybe a shot of a raccoon in the corner of a room. Eric, that might be a good To Kill a Wolf shirt, even if you remember the stuffed raccoon. But I'm going to buy a shirt, tokillawolf.com. So that's, I'm so excited just to even think about that movie. It's a movie that it's hard to revisit, because me, Eric, and Bruce, we see so many movies every week, and they just go by and they pass us like Quicksilver, because we're always on the go trying to cover movies. But for this specific movie, I really want to slow down and highly recommend people see To Kill a Wolf. You'll see my interview with Kelsey Taylor on one of our YouTube channels, as well as a podcast I haven't gone back to in a while called Find Your Film. I'll put that up there. I'll put up everything. Bottom line is, between me and Eric's interviews, we have a bunch of podcasts and stuff, and I want to actually bring them all together. And Bruce Purkey can't help us because he's in the attic just watching movies. So a lot of the stuff, the interviews, fall to me and Eric, because we actually we can go out into the world, or at least we have access to a desktop computer and Zoom. Eric will only let Bruce in the attic use the Zoom for his movie reviews. But speaking of movies and reviews and whatnot, Eric, you had something that you wanted to say before we get into these reviews.
Yeah, not really movie related, but I did swing by Barnes & Noble for the first time in quite a while.
Okay.
But I came across this guy, Harlan Ellison's Greatest Hits.
Okay, Harlan Ellison's Greatest Hits.
And it's got the exclusive edition for Barnes & Noble. I saw this one, the regular one. I'm like, what's the difference between the two? Yes. Exclusive edition's got like a bunch of photos in the back, and it's got like a little bit of like manuscript for not sure. I haven't really delved into it too much, but it's one of his short stories. And so Harlan Ellison was like famous for his first draft was his final draft. And so it took, because that kind of like, from his perspective, that's the craft that you learn over time, just how to get it out fully formed. But it's got one of the drafts on one of his short stories, and like all the changes and like the hand marks and the corrections and stuff so his air quote second draft, this is what it would look like. So that's, any fans of Harlan Ellison, I think, would be interested to pick that up. I know I was.
Eric, actually, unlike me, is a huge reader, and I am assuming one of his favorite writers is Harlan Ellison.
Not a huge reader, casual reader.
Casual reader, but you're selective of the authors that you really love.
There's people that plow through 8 books a week like we go through movies, so
that's fair.
I don't know if I want to put huge reader.
The one thing about Harlan Ellison that I know, I think he wrote the teleplay for City on the Edge of Forever, which was on Star Trek, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember, did that star Joan Collins? I remember really loving that episode. And Yeah. So, anyways, Harlan Ellison, huge. Eric is passionate about the late writer's work. Now let's get to movie reviews. We have a ton. We have a ton of stuff that we're going to get to. First up, it's a movie that Eric and I both saw. It's called Shaman. And it centers on a missionary family that they travel to Ecuador and they're trying to convert people to, I think they're Catholics, and they're trying to convert the indigenous people in this mountain in Ecuador, very remote mountain in Ecuador. They're trying to convert as many people into Christianity. And the movie starts off with Candace, played by Sarah Canning. She's, I think it's either her or her husband, played by Daniel Gillis. They're, I think, baptizing one of the indigenous people who's converting to Christianity. That's the beginning. And while they're in this stream, in this beautiful countryside in the mountain, their son is off with his airplane and just flying it off into the distance. And the plane goes into
a toy airplane.
Toy airplane.
Specific.
Thank you, Eric.
He's not a pilot.
Yeah, the son, their teenage son, there is flying a toy airplane, and there's a couple of kids, his friends, presumably younger, much younger than him. They're watching him throw the plane up in the air. The plane goes into a cave. The kid, their son, the missionary's son, goes into the cave searching for his toy plane. And what happens is there is a hand that comes out of the darkness and grabs the son's, like, young kid's arm, and the kid screams and he runs out. And the first opening moments, you see him running from the cave with those two kids towards the parents and the indigenous people by the stream. That is the opening of Shaman. And I think you can surmise from the get-go regarding the symbolism of the cave is you have these missionaries trying to inflict, or I guess that, I don't know if that's a nice word, is trying to spread their religion into this rural area, in an area where these people already possibly have their faith and their own way of life and their own religion. So there is a push and pull between these two religions, and especially since what happens in the cave to the kid, to the teenager, he gets possibly possessed by a demon, devil, who knows? And will Christianity help save this teenager, or will the powers of the shaman and his own spirituality and his beliefs help save the teenage kid? So it's a demon possession movie couched within two faiths trying to bring the demon out of this teenager. It's directed by Antonio Negrete, written by Daniel Negrete. The running time is 93 minutes. It's from Well Go USA Entertainment. It's theaters.
Its current IMDb score is 6.9 out of 10.
Oh,
perfect IMDb score.
Perfect IMDb score. Its running time is 93 minutes. It's a perfect IMDb score, but what is the score of Eric Holmes? Does this movie work for you in any kind of manner, Eric Shaman?
Not 6.9 out of 5, but I did this one a lot. And I think, because like on one hand, it's just a regular demon possession movie, kind of like Exorcist. That'd probably be the closest thing.
100%.
But I think what sets this apart is the combating of two religions.
Yes.
Because on the surface, it's you're trying to give your son an exorcism to get rid of a demon that has nothing to do with Christianity. This is our religion. And so that's like on the surface, but I think what this movie's really saying is boring religions trying to battle for supremacy of the population, or eyes of power, and that sort of thing. And so there's that kind of thing going on. I would say, as far as like just a straight up demon possession movie, this one's a pretty good one, I think. First of all, like the son, usually when kids, whether they get possessed or they're a demon themselves or whatever, it just didn't do it for me. Because I'm like, yeah, go to your room. You're grounded. This one, like, I could definitely take the son pretty easily, but I don't know. He just seems like really, when he's in demon mode, he seems real intimidating. Almost so where like when he gets in demon mode, it's like, get out of there. You don't need to be there.
So he sold you in his performance.
So well, both in his performance, the effects they use, and just the context of everything. So it's a demon possession movie. It was definitely worked on that level.
I like Sarah Canning.
And then he started.
I like the mother, the actress Sarah Canning as Candace. She was good because you get to see her character evolution as she's trying to figure out, do I stay pious and believe and lock into my Catholic religion as far as trying to help my own blood? Or do I start heading over to the shaman and his beliefs and sacrificing my own beliefs for the benefit of my survival?
I like the shaman.
I like the shaman too.
I think when we talk spoilers, I'll get more into why, but shaman's pretty badass, I think.
Oh, he is. Yeah, I also have to mention before we get to Eric's final thoughts on this, on Shaman, is Daniel Gillis plays the husband of Candace, and they are the missionary couple. Just a very interesting fact. Eric and I don't know because we've never watched The Vampire Diaries. Both of these actors were regular characters on The Vampire Diaries. And now they're here years later in Ecuador, Eric, near a mountain shooting an indie film called Shaman. So that was Shaman. Yeah. That was pretty interesting.
Daniel Gillis, he reminded me a lot of Andrew Martin.
Oh, Andrew Martin.
When he first popped up on table, Andrew's in a movie?
Yeah,
wait, no, that's not him.
Is a very interesting
he didn't look
cinephile,
like
good friend of Eric's.
Upon close inspection, but just a quick glimpse, I'm like...
Yeah, maybe with the 3-day growth and unshaven a little bit and stature. Yeah, and a little bit of Andrew Martin, very knowledgeable cinephile.
Looking all handsome and cool.
Yeah, and he is very handsome and cool. A lot more handsome and cool than me. That is Andrew Martin. Shout out to him over at he's a huge movie fan. I wonder what he thinks of Shaman. Eric, your final thought and rating on Shaman?
So yeah, the demon possession horror bits work, the stuff that, and also like that, what do you call it? Not the subplot, but the analogy or what the movie's kind of saying underneath the surface. I think there's a lot there, but it's not there. It's not an overt satire or anything, but it's definitely there if you want to read into that. And if you start reading into it, I think you'll kind of get a lot more out of it. But if you just want to watch it as a kid turning demon and some horror stuff going on, it's definitely great in that regard too.
In Ecuador, it's not set in a big city like in Boston or New York. Yeah. It's set in the mountains of Ecuador, which is very cool. You get to see more.
I would say that there's a lot more positive things I could say, but I have to say that for spoilers because I don't want to give stuff away.
I will say this, though, and I apologize for saying this. It's a little bit of a mini spoiler, not too much. What really sold me, because demon possession movies, Eric, are not my cup of tea specifically. Sometimes I will get fatigue when I see, cut back and forth. The kid is spurting out blood and the blood is black because the blood is a different color. And then everyone's getting everyone's freaked out and it's cutting back and forth and it's jump cut stuff and it's just weird. So all that stuff gets on my nerves sometimes. There's a little bit of that in Shaman, but if you like it, that's fine. What I really loved was, along with the performances, the kid was great, Sarah Canning's great. The ending of the movie, which Eric and I will be discussing this week on our weekly spoilers over at CinemAddicts, knocked me the F out. I cannot believe what they did for the ending. And it's basically a total FU to, I'm not going to say who, but it's just a total FU, and I loved it. It makes me want to go back and watch the movie again because on the surface, Shaman works if you like demon possession movies, but then you might be watching this and say, I've seen this before. Okay, differently. Okay, I've seen this, or I've seen the way. But then when you get to the ending, it knocked me out. And it brought everything in this movie together for me. And I was surprised at how much I ended up liking Shaman more the more I thought about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I would rate this one, but Elliot came up to me and his eyes turned black. He's like, "You're weird." And then I got flung across the room.
So Eric, what is your rating on Shaman again in theaters?
I'm afraid I'm not going to do it. I'll go 4.666 on this one.
Okay, so 4.5 stars because I'm too scared to 4.66 on Shaman. I'm giving Shaman 4, okay, because of the value add of that ending. It's just a good ending. It's one of the, I'm thinking of endings this year. This is one of the better endings I've seen, I think, for a while. It's subtle.
I think I'm gonna 4-star too, but that ending set it above for me. Reasons we'll talk about.
Okay, so Eric's gonna say 4 stars. I'm gonna say 4 stars. He puts on the Google Doc 4.666. Again, it is directed by Antonio Negrete. Or I apologize for that, for mispronouncing the name possibly, and written by Daniel Negrete. I will also, there's a huge You know what my big barrier to entry as far as Shaman goes, the big warning that we have to give. What's the big warning we have to give our Cinematics listeners for Shaman? What do you think?
It's a horror movie, so don't bring the kids.
Okay, that's a good one. Is that your guess?
Hey,
Is that your
should
warning?
be- no, that's inherent in a horror movie.
Eric, you love animals. If you love guinea pigs, folks, Yes, Eric.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's.
guinea pigs.
I'm assuming no guinea pigs were harmed in the making of this movie.
Of course.
You wouldn't know that watching the scene. Like they
I
sold
love
that
guinea pigs.
pretty damn well.
Guinea pigs are a delicacy in Ecuador and Peru and a bunch of Bolivia. Eric, stop licking your lips. Are you getting hungry? Eric, you're licking your lips right now. I just
when he was holding the guinea pig and started making that noise of distress.
Oh.
Before he started. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. FYI, if you have a guinea pig, if it's a guinea pig as your pet, or people like to say, if you're a guardian of the guinea pigs, if you love them, just be warned. But Shaman's also about respecting cultures, right, Eric? It's a delicacy in Ecuador, so people eat it like you and I eat chicken.
Right.
So
also, Humberto Morales is Shaman.
He's
Keep an eye
awesome.
out for that guy. That's like a Pim Zam thing. It's like, I hope to see this person in more things because he didn't have a huge part, even though that the title of the movie's him. But yeah, his character was freaking cool as hell in this.
And I don't want to get too political here, but Shaman also talks about demonic possession, but it also talks about where does evil lurk and what different colors are evil? What is abuse? Who is abusing who is exploiting who in Shaman? So some really good stuff. Eric and I gave it 4 stars because of the value add of the social themes that it addresses. I'm putting words in Eric's mouth right now, and hopefully that's fine because he can't really speak right now. He has a bunch of guinea pigs in his mouth. They're roasting. It's like he has a roasted spink.
I got him on the smoker. It's fine.
Smoker. That's it. Then we're gonna once we make our cheeseburger.
I'm almost 50. I got to smoke all my meats. Otherwise, what the hell am I doing?
Okay. I got to smoke my meats too, but that's a whole different situation. It's a family show. Once we get rich, Eric and I, we're gonna take our money. We're gonna go to the mountains of Ecuador. We're gonna actually unleash Bruce Purkey from the attic, and we're gonna make him eat cuy all day. Cuy is the term, is I think Spanish for guinea pigs. Is that okay? You and I can enjoy the mountains in Ecuador, and Bruce will be eating cuy. I don't know. Would you eat cuy if you were in Ecuador? Would you try guinea pig?
Yeah.
I think I might try it as well. When in Rome.
Can't talk. I currently have my mouth full of guinea pig.
Okay, so that is our review of Shaman, again, in theaters Friday, as well as available on digital and on demand. Next up is a movie called... Oh, look, we're done with our movies because I'm going to get to
Mother's Wedding.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a second. Bruce has Birthright. He has a horror movie called Birthright. He also has a review of another movie called Sudan Remember Us. So for those reviews, check out Bruce over in the attic, and don't tell him about the guinea pig situation that Eric and I are going to put him in several years once we become rich from our monies earned in cinematics and over on our 2 websites, okay? We're going to get to that in a second. But the last featured review for this week for us is a movie called My Mother's Wedding. Eric, wedding movies. This one stars Scarlett Johansson, Kristen Scott Thomas from The English Patient. Can I bet all the money in the world that you will never watch My Mother's Wedding? Can I? In general, are wedding movies your type? Would you be open to watching a movie about weddings in general? This one centers on 3 sisters, played by Scarlett Johansson, Sienna Miller, and Emily Beecham. They visit their mother, who's getting married for the 3rd time. Mother's played by Kristen Scott Thomas. They go to her house in the beautiful countryside, and it's about the marriage of their mother. And obviously, it's a family romantic comedy drama. My Mother's Wedding, not your purview, Eric?
Not running to the theater just yet, but go on.
But, okay, how about if it's streaming? The thing is, here's a good thing.
I'm not running to the streaming either just yet, but go on. I'm just waiting for you to sell me on it.
Kristen Scott Thomas was in Only God Forgives. Just based on that, does she give you some extra, I guess, ducats or incentive to watch My Mother's Wedding? But this is the first feature directing debut of Kristen Scott Thomas. A lot of you might know her from Only God Forgives. Most of you might know her from The English Patient, and I think all of you probably know her from so many different movies. She starred with Scarlett Johansson years ago in a movie called The Horse Whisperer, directed by Robert Redford. And she's here now as directing, and it's her first screenplay. And My Mother's Wedding, she's a mom who is trying to have a good day on her wedding, marrying a nice, really amiable chap who loves her dearly. But the problem is her daughters, they have their own set of problems, and they bring that baggage into that wedding day. The Scarlett Johansson character, she works for the Navy, I think the Royal Navy, and she's gone for months at a time, and she's not very good with her life partner, played by Frida Pinto, and she's obviously an absentee mother or absentee parent to her son, so you get that kind of problem. The Emily Beecham character, she is fearful that maybe her husband might be cheating on her. That's the second sister. The third sister is played by Sienna Miller, and her character she plays an internationally known actress, very popular, very famous, who might be settling down with a man who is much older than her just for the sheer financial comfort. So all of these sisters and their problems to celebrate their mother's big day, but there might be some drama that happens within the mix of My Mother's Wedding. Running at 95 minutes, the movie's confidently directed by Kristen Scott Thomas. My thing that was a very big surprise regarding this movie is it's more of a drama, and it works better as a drama than an actual comedy. The comedic stuff, I feel, is more thrown in to liven up the pace of the proceedings, but I think this movie really works as a resident drama about learning to love the people who are around you at the moment and not completely holding on to your past. The movie is also partly inspired by Kristen Scott Thomas's own life, because she had two late fathers who worked in the military as well. And in this movie, My Mother's Wedding, Kristen Scott Thomas's character was previously married to men who both perished while serving time in the military. So it's inspired in that way, and it's worth a watch. If you are a fan of any of the aforementioned actresses, especially Kristen Scott Thomas and Scarlett Johansson, they have the biggest roles in this. Sienna Miller and Emily Beecham are also good in My Mother's Wedding. It's a fun hang for 95 minutes, and it has some nice resident message, and I hope to see more directing efforts from Kristen Scott Thomas. My Mother's Wedding gets 3.5 stars from me. So
did it yank any tears out of you by then, or?
No, very good question. No tears from me, but I really liked some of the writing in this movie, especially what Kristen Scott Thomas had to say about love and unconditional love and whatnot. It's a good, solid movie. Great debut from Kristen Scott Thomas. Again, that is My Mother's Wedding, in theaters Friday, August 8th. I forgot to mention Patreon before we get into our other reviews. 2012. I've got to get on the ball. We have to pick a couple movies for 2012. Cinematics listeners, if you have some movies you want us to review, Cinematics Patreon members, please hit us up. I'm going to put that. Please get us some movies this month for our assigned pick, and 2 other movies for our Patreon bonus episode. That is for a $5 catch-all. You get a bonus episode over at Cinematics. And yeah, 2012, Eric, I don't know if you have done any research yet. I haven't, but hopefully we'll find some good movies from 2012 to cover this month. Again, that's 2 episodes for our bonus, 2 movies for our bonus episode, and then an assigned pick that is on our Cinematics Patreon feed. So that is
it. The year Michael Haneke's Amour won the Palme d'Or.
Oh, the thing with Michael Haneke,
Amour, that movie is
very interesting.
Depressing.
It's interesting because Michael Haneke is one of Anderson's favorite filmmakers, along with Steven Spielberg. Did you know that, or am I slandering Anderson Cowan as we speak right now? No,
I don't think Michael Haneke makes pretty good movies. Yeah. Some of them are certain, like Amour's one of those movies that were like, it was really good. I don't ever want to watch it again.
Is it why? Because
Cache was like a really good kind of mystery kind of going through, like leaning forward. I think the ending's a little too ambiguous for what it was building up to. And then, of course, Funny Games. Both versions are essentially the same movie, but Funny Games is... I saw the remake first. I saw the remake in theaters, and there's one scene in particular, I think most people have seen and know what scene I'm talking about, where I'm like, what the... Huh? They can do that? All right, cool.
All right, cool. That is it for Michael Haneke. Speaking of all right, cool, was Together a good experience for Eric Holmes. He saw it in theaters. It's send, I don't know if Eric, if you want me to do a plot summary, but all I say is it stars Tim and Millie. Not Tim, it doesn't star them. Tim and Millie, they're played by Dave Franco and Alison Brie. They are at a crossroads as a couple. They move into the country, abandoning everything familiar in their lives except each other. There's tensions that are currently flaring between both of them, but there's a weird, mysterious, unnatural force that it threatens to, quote, corrupt their lives and their love and their flesh. It's written and directed by Michael Shanks, currently in theaters. Eric Holmes, you paid good money to see Together. Was it worth that money to go see Together?
I did, and it was. Yeah, Together was pretty good. It's similar to what we're talking about with Shaman. Like, on the surface, it's this horror movie about Tim and Billy. They fall in this cave, and they kind of get stuck there overnight. They're like, I guess we'll just camp out here till there's light and we can see what the hell we're doing and we can crawl out of this thing. They wake up and their legs kind of stuck together a little bit, and they pull it apart. It's like, oh, that hurt. What the hell was that? They can figure it out. And then as the movie progresses, they get drawn together and like emotionally repelled from each other kind of at the same time. So it's like one of those things where it's like definitely a body horror movie, but it's also, you can tell that it's a story, like Shaman isn't just about the demon possession. That's what the outside story is, but the underlying story is something else entirely. And this one's definitely a push and pull on just different relationships. I haven't quite.
Is it scary? Is it gory?
It's not even really that gory. Certain parts are for sure. It's not scary, but it's like it's like a body horror where it's kind of ugh.
Is it dark comedy?
In certain ways, yeah. It's a horror in as much as Videodrome's a horror. If that makes sense. Or just like, for instance, like there's parts where like their hands will come together and like fold inside of themselves. And or the substance. Substance is more satire than this one is. And there's definitely some funnier parts in Substance, but that's the kind of gore you can expect. There's certain scenes where it's like, but it's not like, I wouldn't call the Substance scary, but it's still horror. This kind of has that same sort of feel to it, but I think Dave Franco and Alison Brie, anytime you get real life couples that are just good actors on their own. Alison Brie, I think, loved her in Glow. Please bring Glow back. I don't get to watch TV often, but when I do, it tends to get canceled, which is why I don't like doing it. But yeah, Alison Brie and Dave Franco are just good actors on their own, but they're couples and they're playing a couple, so it adds to that chemistry, I think, a little bit. Similar to Eyes Wide Shut, Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise at the time. The effects and some of the stuff they do with them coming together, especially at the very end. Not the very end, but like the climax bit, might have thrown up in my mouth a little.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing as far as entertainment?
For some people, it'd be a bad thing, but for me that appreciates, like, when they do stuff like that look pretty good. Okay, when it kind of turn away from the screen right now, because and the thing is, it's not bloody. It's just like one of those things, you see it and you're like, ugh, you just squirm in your seat a little bit. But yeah, if you dig body horror, Together's a good one.
Okay. What is your rating on Together, Eric?
Hopefully, and I talked with Connor Pello about this, because he was in a movie called Better Half that I think the screenwriter came to Dave Franco and Alison Brie approached them about Better Half, and then they turned it down, and then they came back and did this. So I think the filmmakers from Better Half are suing the filmmakers of Together for copyright or plagiarism. I don't know what's true and what's not, but that's the thing that's happening. But hopefully, whatever happens in court, hopefully the success of Together can hopefully get Better Half made available, because you can't watch it right now. So maybe this will be the thing. Hey, take what? We're suing them, but they're also doing well. So let's put our movie out now. They'll get a little bump from that. So I would like to see that one too, and see what the similarities and differences between the two are. But as it is, yeah, court decisions notwithstanding, I thought Together was a good movie. I'll give this 4 stars as well.
4 stars for Together from Eric Holmes. You saw it over in theaters. Tell us what you think of Together as well, starring Dave Franco and Alison Brie.
It's no Wolf Cop. I'll say that.
Wolf Cop. We're going to get to Wolf Cop in a second. Written and directed by Michael Shanks. That is Together. Now, Wolf Cop, I think that came out several years ago. What made you decide to dig in the archive to go see Wolf Cop. I believe it, or I could be wrong. I don't know when Wolf Cop.
The place I go to get my hair cut, one of the ladies that normally cuts my hair, we kind of bond over horror movies. And she likes the really cheesy B horror movies. And then she's like, have you ever seen Wolf Cop? I'm like, yeah, I don't think I saw it all the way through, but I saw like bits and pieces of it. But you know what? Next time I get my hair cut, I will have seen Wolf Cop all the way through, front to back, by the time I get my hair cut next. And so probably gonna get my hair cut this weekend. So I was like, let's get Wolf Cop in before I head down there. So I figured I'd give it a watch. And this movie's pretty wild.
What is it about? It's about a wolf who's a cop.
Yeah, pretty much. It's Lou. He's a cop. First thing you see him do is he wakes up late, drinking out of his flask. He's disheveled, driving like a drunk, pretty much. Wanders in the police precinct, and hey, you're late. Your partner that you were supposed to relieve was supposed to be out of here 2 hours ago. Thanks for finally showing up. He's that kind of guy. And then eventually he turns into a werewolf, and his buddy figures out that he's a werewolf because while he wolfs out, his buddy like tranquilizes him and then ties him up. And then he's like, dude, hey, got all your clothes and stuff ready for work, but we need to figure this out. What happened is you're a werewolf, dude. And so he ends up, a bunch of stuff happens, and then Lou ends up taking the night shift, and he's no longer a cop at this point. He turns into a werewolf, and then he finds that he's not just like this uncontrollable animal. Like he's got it together mentally. And so he just goes around in his cop uniform, but he's also a werewolf and goes and fights crime as a werewolf. And then there is one huge missed opportunity. Mm-hmm. So Lou ends up getting the bartender lady, the extremely attractive bartender lady, ends up becoming attracted to Lou for some reason. And then Lou's in the jail cell and he turns into a werewolf. And then the bartender lady goes in there and they have themselves a little sex scene. Missed opportunity. What's the one sex position you would expect to see a wolf cop do?
Yeah, I guess something related to
Snoop Dogg.
Or Snoop Dogg. His album,
Family
Show. Yeah,
Style was a very popular album at the time.
Yes.
Didn't even touch on that.
Interesting.
Oh, but they did do that kind of that 80s sex scene where it's like all slow and like touching each other and then playing the saxophone music in the back. But it definitely leans on a bunch of kind of 80s tropes and B-movie tropes and stuff. It's got a real enough story to kind of elevate it a little bit, but this is a movie. They know what they're getting into and they have fun with it. Kind of Breed Apart. Breed Apart's not like this amazing movie that's going to win all the awards, but it doesn't say, hey, look, we're a bad movie, and then the joke is we're a bad movie. Wolf Cop kind of does that. Definitely leans into all of its tropes, but it still manages to be an entertaining movie. And
okay. What is your rating on?
It's not, hey, watch this bad movie. Haha, I get it. It's bad. It's a Wolf Cop. You know what you're getting into, but it's a pretty fun movie. Check it out. 4 stars.
4 stars for Wolf Cop.
I'm 4-star Gregging it today. Every movie gets 4 stars except Shaman gets 4. The 0.666 is it's a silent 0.666, but yeah, they're all 4 stars.
What's interesting, did you review Die Alone, directed by Lowell Dean, who's the director of Wolf Cop? It's a zombie movie with Carrie-Anne Moss and Frank Grillo. It's currently streaming on Prime Video.
Familiar.
I covered it, I think, on CinemAddicts about a year and a half ago. So it came out, I think, last year. And I interviewed Lowell Dean and Douglas Smith for, I think that's something you might be interested in, especially since you saw Wolf Cop.
I did see that.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. So same director from Wolf Cop who did,
all right.
Yeah, Die Alone. I thought Die Alone was a cool film. So it's one of these things, as much as I was trying to make fun of Wolf Cop, I would probably go back and watch it just because I really enjoyed Die Alone as well. So that is Wolf Cop, currently available digital on demand and whatever streaming service. I'm assuming it probably is out on Tubi right now, but that's 4 stars from Eric Holmes. Now,
yeah, I think that's on Pluto, but yeah, it's on all those things.
All those streamers. Okay, my big recommendation this week. Eric, don't know.
Wolf Cop 2. Wolf Cop 2. Oh my God.
Another Wolf Cop came out in 2017. Who knows? I might end up watching another Wolf Cop down the road. But the movie I'm really highly recommending this week is a movie called Sketch. It's a family film, and it's directed and written by Seth Worley. Remember this name, Seth Worley? He is going places because I think my guess, and this is not an educated guess, I think this is almost going to be certain fact because Sketch is such a fun family movie which has a lot of added value regarding just the themes that it approaches in a very confident manner. Okay, so
Well, that's a family show. It's about time we had a family movie.
exactly,
on here.
100%, Eric. So it centers on this young girl named Amber. She is understandably grieving over the loss of her mother, and one of the ways she deals with her grief is actually writing or drawing in her sketchbook. But her drawings in her sketchbook are pretty powerful and negative. Negative meaning that she creates monsters in her sketchbook, and she's creating all these different monsters. She's very talented as an artist, and she actually fantasizes about drawing these characters to actually bully the annoying kid who's also in her bus, in her school bus, and that annoying kid is
I did want to see
Jack.
this.
Yeah.
They had I want to say they had the
Screening?
corridor crew. The director was on corridor crew talking about the whole concept.
Oh, interesting.
I'm sorry, go on.
No.
This one's definitely on my watch list.
But I think it's definitely for something that you should definitely watch because, okay, so what happens is there is a kid on our school bus who annoys her, played by actor Q Lawrence. He plays Jack. So Jack annoys her a little bit. And so she's drawing all these all these sketches in her sketchbook, all these monster stuff, and she's just annoyed by people in her school. And all of this annoyance is couched, of course, because she's still grieving over her mother's loss. The good thing about it is by writing this stuff is she is actually dealing with her grief, approaching it and actually processing her grief through her art, which I think is a very healthy way. Instead of trying to beat up any kind of bullies or beat up other kids, she's using her art to express her just emotions and her troubles. Tony Hale is Taylor, her father, and her older brother is played by Kaylin Cox, who plays Bone. Whoops, hold on one second. Yeah, hold on one second. I think my thing I'm going to have to do a pickup on this. Hold on one second. Yeah, 1 second, Eric. Sorry.
I'll give you a couple seconds. What do you think of that?
Thank you, sir. Hold on.
There ain't nothing you can do about it. I'm giving you all the seconds you need.
Thank you. Thanks. We'll do a pickup on that, okay? Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Hey, everyone, sorry, I had to do a little bit of a pickup on this podcast because my camera just went out. So I'm using the camera in my MacBook, which it's still fine. It's a whole different, there's no gimbal situation, but we're doing a pickup because of Sketch, this movie called Sketch. And I'm going to do a quick mini review of Sketch. And Eric, you've heard about this movie beforehand. How did you hear about Sketch again?
That was on the corridor crew. They had the director on there talking about the effects in there because the girl draws a picture. So then they have a life. It's okay. This is what the girl's drawing looks like. What would this look like in our world come to life? And then, so that's what they were talking about. But it looked like a cool movie. And the fact that this is one of your top picks for the week.
Yeah.
I was already excited to see it. And yeah, now I really want to see it.
Oh,
which is weird because you mentioned Sketch earlier. I'm like, I have no idea what that is. And then I looked it up. And then as soon as I saw that 2-legged kind of fuzzy creature, I'm like, oh yeah, I know exactly what this is.
So there are monsters in Sketch, and it's not an animated film, but it's a live action film. But you get to see these these monsters come to life, and they stand out pretty well. And this is what happens. It centers on this family. They're grieving the loss of the matriarch of the family. So the daughter her name's Amber, and what she does, like Eric says, she sketches monsters, different creatures in her sketchbook, and it's her way of processing her mother's loss and dealing with maybe kids she finds annoying at her school or her school bus. There's a kid named Bowman who just consistently annoys her, and he's very good in this movie. He's played by Kaylin Cox. Her older brother, Jack, is played by Q Lawrence, and Jack is her older brother, and he's trying to help her out, but she has a short temper. She's very hot-tempered right now because the only way she can deal with her grief is through creating monsters and creatures in her sketchbook. And Jack, her older brother, is trying to help things out with her, but he's not being any help at all. She thinks he's meddling in her own business. And that other guy that I mentioned, Bowman, he's just an annoying kid who's on their school bus who probably annoys both Amber and Jack. Okay, so the reason why I'm telling about these three kids is they're the heart and soul of Sketch, and I'll get to the reason why in a second. Tony Hale, you might know him from Arrested Development. He plays their father, Taylor. And Taylor, being a dad, he's dealing with the loss of his wife in not the best way. He takes all of the pictures of his wife and the mother of his two children. He takes them all of her pictures, and he puts them in the luggage, and he hides them away so they don't have to deal with it. And obviously, that's not a great way of dealing with death. Now, with this story, you're thinking it might be a very downbeat movie. Sketch might be a very downbeat movie, and it's not. It's a very honest movie in the way people deal with grief, and it uses that theme in a weird way, in a very fun way, because these creatures in the sketchbook, they come to life because there's a pond in their house, near their house, that due to some situation can actually, when you throw things in the pond, things can come to life. For example, there's a broken pizza dish that Jack throws. He breaks a dish, and I forget if he throws the pizza plate, the dish into the pond.
And then spits it out.
Yes, something like that. Or maybe he's actually realizing there's something powerful about that pond, but ultimately it brought back those pieces together and it becomes a real dish again. And then what happens is when that sketchbook accidentally falls into the pond and gets wet, because what happens is Jack realizes the pond has special powers, and he decides to bring the ashes of their mother close to the pond, which is pretty dark if you're thinking about it, because he's thinking maybe his mother.
Is this starting to get into spoiler territory?
No, it's not spoiler at all. But so that's a big thing: is will he actually put her ashes into that pond? And
so that's a setup, and then the question is, are they going to do it or are they not going to do it?
It's a setup to that, but then what happens in the process of him putting his mother's ashes, it's obviously in an urn in his backpack. I think, if I recall, the sketchbook of his sister gets accidentally wet in the pond, and what happens is, from that experience, the creatures start invading their neighborhood. And that's the rest of Sketch. Okay, it's 92 minutes. A great part of Sketch doesn't deal with all the preachy factors of how to deal with loved ones when you lose them. It's not preachy like that, but a lot of it deals with just pure adventure. You have these three kids trying to make sure that they survive this monster attack, these monsters created by Amber. And it's just like watching maybe The Goonies, when you and I were coming up, Eric, just the fun of watching some great adventure like The Goonies. It reminded me of that movie a lot. And seeing these creatures come to life is really fun. They look great on the screen. Obviously, I watch it on my television. It would look a lot better in theaters. I highly suggest you watch it. My 9-year-old niece, Claire, I can't wait to watch it with her because she's going to get some really good life lessons about just family, but then it's just a fun movie to see the havoc that these creatures wreak on the town or the neighborhood. And Tony Hale as their father is really good because he's not a cookie cutter type of an adult. He is also very neurotic, and he does some very interesting things as well. Darcy Carden co-stars as their aunt, and she's trying to sell the family home as well. So you get a little bit of a family dynamic in Sketch, but the heart of the movie deals with these three kids as they're just blown away by these creatures that are inhabiting the pond area, and they're spreading their monster presence within the house and possibly the nearby town. That is the premise of Sketch, and I really love every scene. Yes.
Are you as soon as you explain the pond and then setting the urn next to the pond, now I'm really interested. Are you underselling it that, or does the movie underdevelop that idea of let's bring back, because the idea of bringing back a loved one, the initial, I think most people's initial thought is, yes, do it. but then maybe the movie explores reasons why you may not want to do that, because like you bring
Right.
it back, there's going to be a monkey paw element almost always. Did
Yeah,
they
100%.
explore that, or is that just
It's
something they kind of hint at?
something where a little bit of in the middle, they more than hint at it, but they don't completely delve into explore it, because a lot of it deals with the process of trying to get rid of these monsters and survive. So what's great about it is there's all of these things about dealing with your grief, or like you said, the monkey paw element of it, which are baked into the story, but it doesn't really completely focus it on it, because the second half of the movie just deals with them trying to survive, which is great because it's a process type of movie, and it's very action adventure-y to
And
see
it
how
sounds
this.
also a little similar to Onward, because Onward had similar vibes. Where
Very
like
good. Yeah, Onward.
like the brothers had the bottom half of their dad the whole time, and then
Yes, very good. Did you like
I,
Onward?
I did.
I like
I like the way that it ended, but it had similar themes to that of grief and loss. Like they had their dad there, but not really. And I
And
think the whole point was we got to let him go, that sort of thing.
and for kids too, I think, and possibly adults, it's also very interesting about how do you deal with your own grief? How do you deal
And in movies like this, like I think people think that, oh, it's not for kids, but you never know when someone's going to die. And then if you can introduce your kids into that kind of concept through something like Onward, or from what it sounds like, Sketch,
yeah.
or any movie where it's like you can nudge them towards that. It's not gonna horrify them, or it's not gonna be too much. But if something were to happen to your mother or
Grandmother, or your or someone
or,
you love, basically.
your dog, whatever, high likelihood they're gonna experience a pet dying. I think whatever little trauma they get from a movie, I think ultimately it'll help them when and if that comes to meet them head on in real life.
Yeah, and instead of, for example, yeah, Amber uses her sketchbook to escape, right, and to process. And kids can ultimately, hopefully, employ Sketch not just as a fun movie, but as a reference point, like you were saying. So it's a very a very good balance, and a very rare balance that filmmaker Seth Worley does with Sketch, because this is a very fun movie with some serious themes, and it's hard to actually have both occupy that same space, and Sketch does it really well. So my rating for Sketch, now playing in theaters, only 92 minutes. Go take your kids. I don't know, Eric, you and I are not fathers, but I don't know what age. Obviously, parents out there, or aunts and uncles, you have to be your own judge and jury on what age your kid should be. But my niece, she's 9. I think she's ready to see Sketch. She's seen all of the Harry Potter movies, Eric, so she can see Sketch.
But also this
Star Wars.
This kind of goes with one of the things. Like I would say, if they're old enough to sit through a movie, they're probably at a good time to watch something like that. Not something too heavy, obviously, but if it's a light movie and it's got those themes, definitely do that, because the protecting your kids is one thing, but sometimes you don't know if you're going to get in a car accident and die, and then they're just going to be blindsided. At least if they got a movie like this to ease them into something like that, or help them make sense, or come up with some feelings about it.
Yep.
There are worse things they could be watching.
100%, Eric. So my
such
rating,
as Avengers Endgame. I would definitely prefer something like this, but
yeah, I can't wait till you see it. I don't know if you have time, but whenever you have time, give Sketch a shot. I think this is a movie that it's right up your alley, Eric Holmes. Hopefully it'll be right up a lot of people's alley. It's getting really good reviews right now. I'm giving Sketch.
I'm definitely watching this.
Oh yeah, and do a rewind next week. In fact, we have several movies next week. You don't have to watch those several movies. Maybe we just watch one of them and then put Sketches. What you did this week, which is I think really cool, because you gave the value add of together. Now, my rating for Sketch, 4.5 stars, currently playing in theaters. Eric's going to see it when he has time this weekend, or maybe early next week. And most
I gotta
importantly,
see if it's playing near me as well. But
yeah,
if it is, I'm definitely going to watch this one.
You're in a very big city, so I'm sure Sketch will be playing. Here's the thing. Yeah, I can't wait till you get to me. And I don't know, Bruce. I think this is a movie that Bruce Purkey would love if you let him go from the attic as well, Eric Holmes. Yeah, 4.5 stars for Sketch.
I'll come out of the attic for this.
Okay, very cool. So that is that's the stuff we covered this week over at CinemAddicts. And of course, Patreon members, hang on for a little bit, because Eric and I will have a very quick mini spoiler for Shaman. And if you're not a Patreon member, don't worry, because on our CinemAddicts YouTube channel, Eric, and Bruce, we do spoiler stuff. That spoiler content, most of it will be housed on our Cinematics YouTube channel. We're currently at 770-ish or 774 subs. We need to get to 1,000 to start getting monetized so we can put on our cheeseburger, we can put a couple of extra toppings, maybe. Truffles too expensive, but maybe a couple of olives. I don't know. What
truffles in your cheeseburger?
Oh, no, whatever else.
It's ruining a cheeseburger.
Oh, you think
Possibly
so?
a truffle.
Oh, yes, and definitely a truffle. What?
Possibly.
So we're making, okay, we need to make more money so we can put what else on the cheeseburger, Eric Holmes, once we get monetized from Cinematics? Oh, good. Or maybe a better.
Mushrooms.
Oh, I like it. Onions? Okay, I like it, Eric Holmes. So.
Oh, make Swiss mushroom burger.
That's my favorite burger, Eric Holmes. Right straight to my heart with a Swiss mushroom burger. Folks, thank you so much for supporting us over at Cinematics. You're going to support us more because you're going to act in a few moments. You're going to hear from Bruce Purkey, who's probably the more insightful and very meticulous reviewer than me and Eric. We're just all over the place with our reviews. So hopefully we get a little bit more of some ASMR from Bruce Purkey over in the attic, even though hopefully Eric Holmes is still once in a while giving him people food. You're still giving him people food now and again, Eric Holmes. Just your kind heart gets in. You let him have good stuff.
I wasn't even paying attention. I was seeing if sketches playing me.
Oh, but Eric never pays attention to my reviews or my.
I did. That's why I'm looking up sketch right
now. Eric, very good rebuttal. He of the lover courtroom dramas, but don't worry, Eric. I was asking you if you still give Bruce Purkey people food once in a while, and I think the answer is yes. That you do.
I mean, you have to, otherwise he dies, and they can't torture him. And then what fun is that?
Yeah, it's not fun, and we need Bruce Purkey because I was going to say he's a friend of ours. Yeah, he's a friend of ours.
I'm trying to keep Bruce's dead body up in the attic so I can dress like him and walk around and John Bruce is running the hotel as I do.
As this family show ends on a dark note over at Cinematics, let's get to some lighter tones with Bruce Purkey over at the Cinematic.
We are in the Cinematic once again, the attic of cinema, and I have some movies for you. A real variety of movies this week, not my usual 3 or 4 screeners. I have 2 screeners. One is a documentary called Sudan Remember Us, and the other one is a indie horror movie called Birthright. Along with that, I have a movie from 1991 called Clear Cut. I have a TV series currently going on Apple TV Plus called Smoke, and a quick little reaction to the brand new Superman movie. So, let's get to it. All right, first up, we've got Sudan Remember Us, directed by Hind, and this is directed by Hind Mendez. Okay, let's start over. First movie here is Sudan Remember Us, directed by Hind Mendez. This is obviously taking place in Sudan, predominantly between 2019 and 2023. And it plays almost more like a blog or diary entries in some ways than it does a straight ahead documentary. So on the plus and minus side of this, on the minus side, I think this is a documentary that would have benefited slightly by being a little more traditional as far as like maybe having a little bit of background on the history of Sudan, giving us a quick rundown and breakdown of kind of the various factions and political situations that have led to the events that we see in this movie or the current events of the movie. But instead, it is right there in the thick of it. And essentially, a big chunk of this movie is just on the ground video of people, especially more like students and stuff, doing sit-ins and various protests in Sudan. And the main filmmaker, it seems like the main filmmaker is actually not from Sudan. I think they're from Tunisia, but they are in Sudan and they're just, like I said, they're on the ground, like in cartoon place, talking to people and watching the events. In a lot of ways, it kind of reminded me of Tiananmen Square. And if Tiananmen Square in China, there was a big student uprising and they sit in this giant kind of camp built up in Tiananmen Square. And the government basically came in and just crushed it, literally crushed people and killed people and just crushed the whole uprising and attempt by the people to overthrow this kind of authoritarian regime and, want the people trying to take power. Very similarly here, you've got from all accounts, at least from the people on the ground, they see the Sudanian government as this kind of corrupt, it's like an Islamic state, but a lot of these people that are protesting are Islamic, and they seem to be very devout Islamic people. And it's more like they're against the perceived corruption and the military kind of dictatorship that's going on in there. And wait, the very beginning, you're at current day, which is like 23 or so on, like I said, and you see this wall and it has all these like paintings of protesters and dissidents who have presumably died or at least been imprisoned. And then you get the flashback, like I said, to 2019 in one of these huge kind of sit-ins, and all the people talking about what their goals are and singing songs and reciting poetry and rapping and all this kind of stuff. Very freeform. And then their hope and anger and thoughts that they can actually do something, and then the inevitable crackdown that occurs. One of the more interesting parts of that crackdown, because you then start going from 2019, you started going through kind of the events that lead to the current day. Once again, I say current day, 2023, current day in this film's world. And one of the things that's really interesting is there seems to be this interesting sort of a compromise that occurs between the government and the protesters, the student protesters mostly, but a lot of protesters of different ages, but mostly in that kind of college age. And the compromise is, I think this said was going to be like 18 months of military rule, and then they give it 18 months of citizen rule. And all of these protesters are doubting that when the 18 months is up, that the government will give over the reins to the citizens. So part of this movie is waiting for that deadline and then seeing what happens when that deadline hits. As you might guess, it's a pretty frustrating film if you are somebody who sees this kind of regime in various places around the world and just always wants or hopes that people can have some sort of say in their own lives, in their own worlds, and that the might won't win, the military won't win, the forces of power and restriction won't win. Unfortunately, they usually win, and that's the frustrating part. And how is this as a documentary, though? A documentary should do a few things. For me, I don't really know anything about Sudan, so it's really interesting to see that there's this. I'm not going to be surprised in various African countries that there might be war or so on going on, some kind of conflict. But the fact that there's this heated, very, ideologically deep need by some of the people to get back their nation, to gain it back, and to know that this is all going on, and it's really just not even talked about. You might think of something similar in, Ukraine or Gaza even. But here, who hears about Sudan? In America, at least. Not anybody, really. And it was just, so you add another place to be heartbroken about. So as far as that goes, it was interesting and well done and engaging. Like I said, the minus to the film, I think, for most people, is going to be not having this real kind of solid through line to grab onto. So you do come back to certain different students over and over again, but not consistently enough for me. Like, I almost wanted this to be one of those movies where they pick maybe 2 or 3 people and just stay with them and follow them straight on through. Now, I don't know if logistically that was even possible for the filmmaker, because it seems like stuff on the ground is always changing and people are disappearing and people are leaving. And the filmmaker seemed like they probably were coming back over and over again. And I think finding and staying with these people consistently probably wouldn't have been as easy. But I think if it would have had that, it would have given you something a little more like tangible to grab onto, as opposed to just, like I said, more of a free form. It's almost a tone poem in some ways, this angry poem about what's going on there, and you just are flowing in it. You're flowing in it in different periods of uprising, and you're just there, like I said, on the ground in the midst of it. So I guess immersively that part is well done, but as far as the overall emotional kind of arc and really getting to feel like what everything means and how it's progressing, that was a little harder to grab onto. So I think I would say overall, I'll probably give this a 3 stars for documentary. I feel like I wanted a little more from it, but I'm really glad it exists. And I think that especially for people who like documentaries and want to learn about things and places they don't know about. This does that job. I just wanted it to be more, just really hit me. That's where like a movie, No Other Land or something we had like earlier this year, dealing with not the same kind of concept, but a similar sort of a conflict and uprising and so on and so forth. By being so focused, like basically two people, it really had much more of an impact than this one did for me. Okay, the other screener I had was Birthright, and this is directed by Ross Partridge. It has several different people in it, but the two main people are Wren, like a bird, Wren, Alice Kremmelberg, and then Maya is Wani Feliz. Wren and Maya are a couple, and they both are getting this brand new, not brand new for them, but old house. This old Victorian, huge house, the kind of house you would never be able to get probably on your own as a young couple, because they're probably in their probably the early 30s. It kind of looks, I don't know. And Wren she's kind of our main character, and she teaches piano and stuff, and this house has a piano already in it, and it was back at her uncle's. This is one of those kind of like traditional kind of a horror tropes, right? Long lost aunt or uncle or whatever passes away, and whoa, they left me this huge old Gothic house. And that's the big setup for a ghost story a lot of times. Oh no, we got this great old house. I wonder why no one wants it. I guess it's ours now. Like that sort of. But this house is much more bright and airy. It's not like all cobwebby and stuff, but it's still this big old house you wouldn't probably be able to get at that age for most people. And Maya is her fiance at that point, because they're definitely very serious for each other. And Wren is pregnant, and they're really excited about that, and they got this new house and all this kind of stuff. And then the tropes begin. Let's see, how do I describe it? So this has obvious shades or inspiration from something like Rosemary's Baby, in the fact that you're like, oh, immediately there's stuff that's witchy or weird going on. Things like lots of strange town folk, and Wren's got her doctor, and the doctor doesn't seem quite right. And then at one point, a student shows up, this young girl, but she looks like a really poor country girl from the 20s or something instead of current day. When I say 20s, we are the 20s, right? Maybe from the 30s of the 1930s. This young girl shows up, and she gives her like this stick figure. It almost looks like something from Blair Witch, like this little tied up pieces of stick and twine. And she gives it to her and then disappears. And there's the kid. What did I call him? There's a creepy kid, I already told you about that brings her the thing and just disappears. And she's like, oh, what is that? And there's like figures that wear like tarps and have antlers she keeps having dreams about. And they look like Wendigo-ish, but maybe they were witches in the woods or warlocks or something. And there's indications that someone might want her baby. And there's this young guy librarian who just happens to be an expert on the demonic and witchy stuff of the area. And she finds out more, where Wren finds out more about that. And it also becomes very gaslighty, where it's like, at some point, basically, Wren starts to look like she's going nuts and losing her mind. And Maya is starting to think that she can't trust that Wren is seeing reality anymore. And there's people around them that don't believe that Wren is seeing reality anymore. But maybe there are really people that are like out to get her and her baby. And there's some kind of nefarious witchy intentions. There's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. So what do I have to say about this movie? Is it a good movie? Is it a bad movie? It's fine. This is one of those movies, if you've never seen a folk horror movie, you've never seen anything like a pregnancy demonic horror movie, like the Omen we had recently. What was that called? The First Omen? Something like that. Or obviously Rosemary's Baby, or The Exorcist, or any of these kind of movies where it's like childhood, motherhood, culty, witchy, demonic, horror, and paranoia kind of stuff. If you've never seen that kind of stuff before, I think this movie might be a lot more effective for the average person. If you've seen some of those movies, there's so much in here that you've seen versions of before, and it's not going to really surprise you much and do much for you. And the ending definitely was just kind of, oh, okay, that's where this is going. That's fine. And like I said, the demon worshippers or whatever they are, like I said, they look like they're literally people wearing tarps and antlers on their heads with a mask of some sort. Like they put a bunch of sticks in front of their face. And it's just, sometimes that stuff can work. And it really adds to that atmosphere. For me, it was just, I guess you didn't have a lot of money for costumes here. I mean, this is a well-intentioned enough movie. It's not the kind of movie I don't want to be angry about or hate, but also I just didn't enjoy it very much. It didn't do much for me. I can't really recommend it, but I don't, like I said, don't hate it. I'll probably go 2.5. That's as high as I can go, because otherwise I'd be recommending it. As high as I can go without recommending it is what it is, 2.5. Birthright, you don't need to run out and see this, especially if it's in the theater. If it's on a streaming service, hey, dip in and give it a try. If it catches you with its mood, it's not, like I said, it's not the worst. The actors are both really good and engaging, and I really like them a lot. I wish the story around it had been a little more unique or daring or something. And the direction was fine too. It just was, there's just nothing exemplary here. It just didn't get me. Okay, moving along to non-screeners. I've got a few things to bring you that are different this week. First of all, something that is currently going on now. So I'm going to consider this a current release because it isn't done yet. And that is Smoke on Apple TV+. This is a series ongoing right now. I think that Apple TV Plus has a lot of sneaky, some movies that are okay, but I think some of their series are great, and I don't think they get any play. I don't know what it is, just the platform just has a hard time sticking in people's brains. When they think about just going to streamers, they're always going to Netflix, and they're always going to Hulu or Disney Plus or wherever they're going, and they just forget Apple TV Plus. I think there's some real quality stuff going on over at Apple TV Plus, and Smoke is one of those. Now, what kind of caught my eye, and the reason I checked it out, was the creator is Dennis Lehane, and recently they did another series called Blackbird on Apple TV Plus, which was also great. This is a different story altogether, but the same creative forces behind it. He also was behind things like Boardwalk Empire and stuff like that. So this is currently, I want to say, about to have episode 8, and I don't even look how many episodes there are. I'm assuming there's between 8 and 10. So it's getting close to the end of it. And so far, everything I've seen, I've really liked. And there's some really impressive stuff going on in this show. First of all, it stars Taron Egerton as Dave. He's like this arson investigator. And, oh, by the way, this is based on a true story. This is based on a series of arsons. There was like a serial arsonist that was going on in California, I don't know, in the 90s or something. And I think this is very loosely based on that. But I would say based on that in the most, like I said, general sense. This is not going to be like a pseudo documentary it's not going to tell you all the details of that event. It's just using it as a kickoff point, I think. So anyway, you got Taron Egerton there. You've got Smollett. She is the main partner for Dave. And then you've got this other character named Freddie, and I'm going to talk about him in a second. I want to point him out. This actor, Natar, boy, I'm going to say all these names wrong. Katari Guana Mabahu Mui. I'm just going to call him Freddie now. It's easier. Also, you do have Greg Kinnear in here, awesomely. And you have John Leguizamo, who is always great. He doesn't come in until about, I don't know, the 4th episode. But when he comes in, he just adds a whole level of spice to the series. And if you love John Leguizamo, like most of us do, he's always a welcome addition to a production. Anyway, the guy playing Freddie is so fantastic. There is a creepy air and a misanthropic performance he gives here, which is fantastic. And in a just world, this would at least get an Emmy nomination for supporting actor because his performance is fantastic. Basic concept, like I said, is you've got these 2 investigators, Dave and Michelle. Now, Michelle's just a police officer, and she gets joined up with the fire investigator because they had this two series ongoing at the same time of arsons, serial arsons going on, and they're trying to solve them. And even though Dave, who's this, like I said, he's an arson investigator, he's also teaches arson investigation, and so his reputation in some ways is getting put down because if you're such a great arson investigator, why are these 2 giant serial arsonists successful in your region? You think you'd have them knocked down. So that's something he's dealing with right out of the gate. So he gets paired up with this police officer because I guess they're supposed to maybe help him use investigative forces that he maybe wouldn't have access to as a fire investigator. Anyway, you kind of set up this partnership with them. That alone would be a pretty entertaining, kind of a cop procedural sort of a movie, or TV series, I should say. The difference here, and I think why I really enjoyed it, is in a lot of ways, this series almost acts a little more like Columbo. And what I mean by that is, by the first episode, I think you know who one of the arsonists is. And by the second episode, you know who both of the arsonists are. And then the remainder of the series isn't about who they are. It's trying to figure out why they do what they do. Kind of you get these personality sketches of these two arsonists. There's actually a big surprise too in there, and I'm not going to let that go. You have to discover that on like the episode 2. And then, so you're discovering kind of their characters and what makes them tick. And more importantly, the investigation and how they're going to try to catch these guys. That is a big chunk of it, and that's very Columbo-esque. And within that, there's just a ton of great character work. There's some really creepy and interesting, tense moments. Almost Seven or Silence of the Lambs-esque. Not quite as grotesque, but there's some moments that are really unnerving in a way that I wasn't expecting for a series like this. And the character work, like I said, done by the guy who plays Freddy, who I barely could pronounce his name, and by Jernay Smollett and by Taron Egerton, all the character work by those three are fantastic here. And what I really love about their character work here is none of them are just one type. You get to really see the darkness that you wouldn't expect in the cop character and in the fire investigator character. They really dive into that, and it just makes it a lot richer. So that by the time we're moving along towards the final episodes here, you're really invested in these characters, and you really, really understand where they're coming from. So I would highly recommend Smoke, especially if you like good crime investigation kind of procedurals. And also recently I was talking about Mindhunter. This has a little bit of Mindhunter in it too, where you get that, like I said, just got some Fincher-esque vibes to it and stuff. It's really good. Okay, another movie that I watched this week is from that collection which I mentioned before that my friend gave me, the All the Haunts Are Ours collection of, it's called a collection of folk horror, but it's just all kinds of weird movies. A lot of them are really lost or unusual international movies. And the one I watched this time was Clear Cut. I watched Clear Cut because I've heard about it. My friend had said that's the one to check out early. And also it had been popping up on something else recently where they had mentioned Clear Cut. And I thought, okay, I guess it's meant to be. It's from 1991, and it's directed by Bugajski. The name's impossible to pronounce for me because I have no ability. Bugajski. Bugajski. It's a Canadian production. In fact, most of this takes place, I think, in northern Ontario, just out in the beautiful craggy woods. And it stars Peter, being played by Ron Lay, Bud Ricketts, played by Michael Hogan, and then Arthur, played by Graham Greene. And yes, that Graham Greene that you all probably know really well from a variety of movies. This may be his best performance ever. This performance is so magnetic. In fact, if you look at all the posters, it's usually a picture of him. He is supposedly not the main character, but really, he's the main character. Great setup to this movie. This is like a low-budget movie that looks like it's just going to be like a kind of a sleazy revenge action movie or something, or maybe a cheapo horror movie. You just don't know what this movie is going to be from the posters, and that's probably why it got lost in the mix of time. But what it really is this. So you start out and you got this Peter character played by Ron Lay. You got him just arriving in this kind of remote forested area, and he pretty much walks into a protest of this kind of logging company and this factory company that's just basically clear cutting. There you get the name, clear cutting the land, and it's being protested by Native Americans. And that the logging company has either real cops or they've hired security people or whatever it is, but those people are just beating down the Native Americans. Not Native Americans even, they're Canadians, and they're Canadian Indians. They're beating them down, and there's this actually fight going on between them, and you can tell that the company is going to win this case. And Peter is the lawyer for the Native Americans. And God, I keep calling them Native Americans. Let's just say Indians. I know, I don't know what you want to say otherwise. This is called Indians. That's our term we're going to use for the rest of the time. And Peter represents them. They are basically getting fed up with him because how is the law going to help in the situation? The law is never helping them. The law gets them treaties, gets them deals, and it always just gets bowled over and they still get screwed over in the end. That's the history of Native Americans and Native Canadians in the world. We all know this. So, needless to say, the various Indians there they're not very optimistic about Peter having any good effect. But anyway, Peter's hanging out there again. He's trying to help them out. He's trying to see if he can get something stopped, get the clear-cutting stopped and everything like that. And at one point, Arthur's Graham Greene, Arthur just kind of wanders into the scene. He's pretty quiet and stoic. And he's talking to Peter, and Arthur is complaining about what's going on, and Peter is too, because he seems to have his heart in the right place, even though he's just doing it from this legal white point of view. And at one point he says, we just need to burn that mill down. And now remember, this is the white dude saying it. He's just saying it out of frustration. We just need to burn this mill down, blow it up, and skin the head of the company alive. And Arthur, Graham Greene's character, is just standing off to the side. Okay, that's a good idea. And then, I don't know, a day later, Arthur shows up to the hotel room and he says, "Are you ready to go?" And Peter's just, "What do you mean?" And Arthur's like, "You said what you wanted to do. You want to blow up the place and skin the head of the company." And Peter's, "Wait, what?" I was this kid. I was angry, but I was just joking around. He's like, "Be a man. Let's do this." And that sets up the movie. The movie ends up becoming this weird, almost like revenge three-hander where you've got the head of the company, you've got Arthur, this very, I don't want to say mysterious, he's just like this quietly dangerous guy that's there as this Native Canadian who's, let's actually make something happen here. Let's do action, not just words. And then you've got this mild-mannered lawyer dude who just thinks he can just use man reasoning and law and talking to get things solved. So it almost becomes like, what if you had the head of the KKK and you had Malcolm X and you had Martin Luther King Jr. kidnapping him? And what if the two of them were fighting between what course to take? And that's how this movie plays out. And it is always interesting, really unusual, really angry and audacious in a cool way that you don't see. You rarely see it around the Native American or the Native cause, especially like in a narrative form. You might see it in a documentary form, but in a narrative form, you rarely see it. And it feels like it's really from the point of view of Native Canadian people. Not, if anything, it's mocking both the obvious racist, power-hungry mill guy, but it's also almost equally mocking the do-nothing but good-intentioned lawyer. And it's just really fantastic. I'm going to go, man, I don't know, 4 or 4.5 stars in this one. I think I'm going to go 4.5 stars in this one. I really like this movie. I think if there's anything that's a little frustrating is the ending gets a little enigmatic. It almost feels like I didn't know quite how to end this movie. Although I'm not 100% on that side. I think there's something interesting going on in the ending, and I can't quite put my finger on it yet. I have to sit with a little bit more, maybe read a couple more reviews of it. But this is a definite indie hidden gem from 1991. If we ever have 91 pop up as one of our years, I would strongly suggest that Eric and Greg check this one out. I think they would both enjoy this quite a bit. Because it has this like weird, gritty revenge edge to it, even though it's also just about these bigger issues. It's a pretty cool movie. Last but not least, I went and watched Superman. I'm not going to do a full review of it because it's a big movie. You're probably aware of it. You probably know if you're interested in it or not interested in it. It's the James Gunn take on Superman. I would say it does all the good things and all the bad things, depending on your point of view of James Gunn, that you would expect. On the good side, I would say it doesn't have the origin story again for Superman. It pops right into Superman as an active superhero in a known universe at the time. He's already hanging out with Lois Lane. We've got some great cast members in here, which I did not write down all their names, but the woman who plays the marvelous Mrs. Maisel is Lois Lane, a great choice because she's not the super glamorous starlet type. She's the sassy, snappy, funny, quippy kind of newswoman, which I think Lois Lane should be. And she's a great actor to be in that role, and I think she's really good in here. You've got Holt. What's his name? I first know his first name from Fury Road and from Nosferatu recently. Holt is the Lex Luthor character. He does a pretty good job as that. He seems a little young for Lex Luthor, but he's still decent enough. But the biggest plus for this movie is just the usual odd menagerie that James Gunn likes in his superhero movies. His superhero movies always end up being more about the odd side characters and super obscure superhero types as opposed to the actual storyline. The actual storyline here is almost a MacGuffin. If you're there to get a good Superman story, you'll probably be really disappointed. And there's a bunch of people going on about like the politics and stuff. And this is definitely, if you want to find some woke politics that you hate, you can probably find it here. Or if you want to find, I don't know, whatever you want to find in there, you could definitely do it. But when it all is said and done, it's just a silly excuse to have all of these crazy characters interact with each other. And I think the crazy interactions is where it kind of sings. Perfect example is at one point Superman is in a prison cell in kind of this alternate dimension, and he has a jailer there. I'm not going into details really, you won't understand until you see the movie, but he has a jailer there who is a reluctant jailer. And just the arc of that jailer alone, the oddness of his character design and the arc that character goes through is fantastic. And in a lesser superhero movie, that character wouldn't even be a thing. It would just be somebody that's there holding him in the jail, and it would just be a cipher of a character. But in the James Gunn kind of movies, that character has a whole arc and is a whole rich, oddball character of his own. And I think that you can tell that James Gunn just loves those kind of characters, Polka Dot Guy and Suicide Squad and all that kind of stuff. He really enjoys these kind of, once again, these oddball, freaky characters. And all of those moments in this movie, I think, are really great. There are also, the other thing I think I really liked about it is this. The one thing that people knock about Superman is that he's such a overpowered Boy Scout do-gooder. And they really lean into that in this movie in a way that I think is actually good. And if there's anything in the story that I think is thematically works, I think it's that. And the fact that they'll lean into where he's in some giant fight with some giant monster and the buildings are crashing down, and he'll take a moment to save a squirrel. And just doing that kind of stuff is pointing out not only they know how ludicrous that is, they're pointing it out, but enjoying the fact that that's his character. If you're going to enjoy Superman, you're going to enjoy the fact that the idea is that all he wants to do is save the unfortunate people no matter what. In these crazy situations, he's going to find a way to save that one person who's about to have the building fall on them. And that almost like boyish naivete, if there is any theme in this movie that I think is interesting, it's that it's the idea that he has that naivete. And the movie's kind of about him discovering that he's being naive and he really doesn't actually know the true depth and the cruelty of the world, and that he needs to understand that cruelty. And then the question is, at the other end, does he still just decide to go with his goals from the naivete, or does he not? And I think if you look at it that way, it's a cool arc for a superhero movie. Now, it is totally buried in a pile of CGI stuff, but this CGI stuff and these characters are way more interesting and I guess well designed than most of these superhero movies where it's just a noisy mess of CGI and characters you care nothing about, and they're all dour and they're all whatever. At least here you're having some fun. And I think that's the bottom line. So I'm going to probably I'll go 4.5 or 4 stars. I'll go 4 stars in Superman. This is not the best superhero movie ever, but this is one that I would surprisingly watch again and enjoy parts of it a lot. So that's Superman. If you're interested in checking it out, it's still in the theater for a little bit longer. And if not, it's going to probably be on your streamer in about 2 months. And that is all I have for this week. The top movies for me, once again, it wasn't any of my screeners. The top things are this week are you can hop in and binge about 6 episodes or 7 episodes of Smoke and get in there before the finale. And I think if you want a good series, that's a great one. Clear Cut is a great hidden tiny gem that really deserves to be seen by more eyeballs. And Superman's not bad. If you want to go to the movie, especially with your family, you're going to have a good time. There's a super dog in it. I didn't even talk about super dog. What's his name? Crypto? Come on. How can you go wrong? All right, that's all I got for this week. We'll be back next week. Once again, I never got to see Eddington. It was literally in a theater for 1 week where I'm at, and it was almost an hour away. That is a crime, and I'm really mad because the people I trust, like Joseph, I think, over at Middle Class Film Class, loved it. I think I will probably love it too. I feel like it's a bold film. It's a divisive film, and I feel like it's right in line with the other stuff he made, and I think I'll be on board. But I won't be able to review back to you until it comes out onto streaming. I think I saw that it's going to be available to buy digitally maybe in a week or two, which I'm not surprised by how fast they took it out of the theater. If that's the case, I will try to give you an Eddington review within a month or so. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.